All right, guys, Andrew Bobros here. Hey, I want to get into a few issues that are popping up this week. I want to talk a little about personnel, reorgs, and coaching. Guys, there's some discussions about Chargers coaches right now, and it's getting spicy. So let's get into it. All right, guys. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some personnel issues. Just a real quick update on injuries. Just got done watching Ronaldo Hill and Joe Lombardi talk about injuries and what's upcoming for this week's game versus the Texans. One of the good things is that zero charges sat out Wednesday's practice. So I do suspect most of the folks on our injury reserve list are most likely going to play. There'll definitely be game time decisions, but I can go through the list here right now. Corey Linsley, Keenan Allen, Herbert will definitely force J.C. Jackson. I think this list, we could get just about everybody back, which would be exciting, right? So we need that, right? We need to see some consistency. We need to see some cohesiveness, and we need to start getting our trending positive again. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see where that plays out and where we go. Apparently, Austin Johnson had some sort of shoulder injury, but it looks like he should be ready to go this week. But I do suspect Allen, Parham, Linsley, and Jackson to be playing along with Herbert. So I'm excited to see that. I think this would be good. I think there's a lot of good things to be said. And again, one of the things that I've said over and over again is that, Allen is very good at third down. Parham is very good at third down, and these are big conversations. But let's talk a little bit more about some other personnel because of these injuries. So with Slater going out, Rashawn Slater, our stud left tackle, Jamari Salyer is actually going to be stepping in, our rookie. So this is going to be an interesting test for him, guys. And look, I want us to temper our expectations, right? He's a rookie. I understand that we think he can do it. We think anyone can do it. But guys, this is the NFL, right? This is not, it's the NFL. It's best the best, right? And these guys are professionals. So he's going to be tested. I'm going to suspect that we go a lot of two tight end sets, especially Parham plays. We'll probably have two tight ends most of the game. They'll come in for chip blocks and then go out and do some pass receiving catches in the flat, so on and so forth. With Michael Williams, Michael Allen, and then two tight ends, maybe even two running backs. I really hope we start going to two running back sets because I think that would definitely help in the running game for sure. But again, Salyer on the left, and then Pipkins will be on the right for this week. So, and then I really hope that we get Corey Linsley back for center. I suspect he'll be there. I do think, everything I've been hearing and reading, it sounds like he's trending positive. Let's talk about defensive edge. So right now, Rumph is going to be taking over the majority of the snaps for Joey Bosa. Ronaldo Hill talked about him, Brandon Staley talked about him quite a bit. They're very high on Rumph. They think Rumph can step in and do very well. And again, he's not Joey Bosa, right? He's probably not going to get double teamed. But look, there's good and bad there, right? The good is he's not going to get double teamed. Well, that probably means they're going to double team Khalil Mack, which is not good for us. But it'll put us in a position where, at least we have a decent pass rusher, right? He's not Joey Bosa. Let's make no mistake about it. He's not going to replace Joey Bosa. But they may not respect him as much, and that might mean that he can burn them for a sack or two some early games, especially this week. I think we can definitely take apart the offensive line. Davis Mills isn't a great quarterback. He holds the ball a long time, so I do think that we should see some sacks this week for sure. Also, I think we're going to see Kyle Van Noy on the edge as well, too. So he was brought in to not only be a middle linebacker, but he will run edge as well. So I'm excited to see that this week, see what he can do. I know in the offseason he was definitely talking about wanting to be more of an edge rusher. So I'm kind of excited to see how that plays out. Interesting conversation about Justin Herbert. A lot of people were talking. They're bringing him along slowly. Look, I think there's some discussions where I think Herbert probably is a little frustrated with that. I mean, I know he doesn't want to be hurt, but at the end of the day, he wants to get out there and play football. And, he likes practice. He enjoys throwing the ball, but bringing him along slowly. They want him to recover and get better. So, he's been limited a little bit. And Brandon Staley was very clear about that. Hey, we want to figure out how to regulate this with him and make sure he gets healthy as long as possible and give him as much rest time as possible. So what are your thoughts on that, right? I know I kind of get the sense that Herbert's a little frustrated about that. I mean, he's not going to come out and say that, but there are some discussions that he wants to be out there, acting normal. And I think, coaching staff is kind of bringing him along very gingerly. So I think there's some, maybe some frustrations in the locker room around that as well too. That does go into my next thought. I'm going to share this little article here real quick. Is Brandon Staley's seat beginning to warm up? That there's some discussions around Brandon Staley being on the hot seat this year. I mean, let's break it down a little bit, right? He went out, gave Tom Telesco a list of players he Clomac. I want Jackson. He got Sebastian Joseph Day, Austin Johnson, right? He went out and signed a lot of key players. And look, the knives are out, right? People are frustrated. Everyone knows that, there are other coaches that want to come and coach the Chargers, right? We'll get into that a little bit deeper here in the last few moments of this video. But look, there's some discussions around that, right? And when we start talking about loss, I read an article a little while ago that he may have lost the locker room. I don't know if I believe that. I do believe Brandon Staley is a great leader, right? And I do believe that he is doing all the right things. And again, remember, guys, he's a young head coach. The NFL is a very different beast. But as much as he wants to coach people up, the team still has to go out and execute, right? And, again, make no mistakes, no excuses, right? At the end of the day, it does fall on the head coach. So when we talk about the locker room being lost, and again, I'm going to beat a dead horse here a little bit. I think if anything, Lombardi is probably the one that may have lost the locker room. Our offense is not playing the way we expected it to. Defense not as well either, to some degree, but, we have flashes of brilliance. It's just not coming together. Now, if there's a benefit, guys, I would say this, that we are playing the Texans this week, and the Texans should be a fairly good test for us, right? I think we should potentially start rolling, right? I think we could beat the corners. I think we should beat their offensive line. Across the board, we match up better than them. Well, we say that, and we played the Jags last week at a game I was at with Kyle, and we got absolutely eviscerated. So it's frustrating, right? And, when you start looking at that, well, who do you blame? So I'm going to give you a little prediction here, guys. Lombardi's probably on the hot seat more than Brandon Staley, right? My prediction would be if we lose this game, maybe lose to the Browns, we end up 1-4, something of that nature, or even if we lose just this play caller, right? A new offensive coordinator, who knows what they bring in? They might bring in Day, quarterback's coach, he can run the offense, or maybe somebody else would run the offense to be the assistant coach, something of that nature. Or heck, just the quarterback's coach, right? Just somebody that just runs the offense. Lombardi has, to me, he's the one that is the problem in the offense at this point. But again, I also do think it's a little too early to start pulling the ripcord and start saying, hey, look, let's hang this guy and put him on the hot seat, yada, yada. I think it at least takes 4 weeks to really get a team together and really understand what you have, right? But again, some of the stats don't lie, guys. I mean, look, through 20 games, he's 10-10. That's not great. All the amount of money we're spending, that's not great. Mike Williams hasn't done well. Austin Eckler's not doing great. We signed Mike Williams. Nothing's really good is happening. Even with all the signings that we have gone out and spent, it's not going well, right? So again, yes, the season's young. It's not time to panic, but, I think the seat's warming up. It's warming up, and you can see the frustration on Brandon Staley's face. But it's one of those conversations that we have to have out there as well too. So, look, I think it's going to be really interesting. So I'm going to go to one last thought. I'm going to wrap up this video. A lot of people want this guy. I saw a video or saw a meme or picture of our boy Sean Payton here, and just like Brandon Staley here on the sidelines making calls. Like, I think it's very premature to talk about Sean Payton, really becoming the head coach. after a week 3 loss with as many players went out as they did, right? And look, I've seen a lot of videos about people, criticizing the Chargers and why are these injuries happening to the Chargers, yada yada. What's the point of this? I mean, I can't believe that they're having these issues. And look, it's frustrating, right? Sean Payton is a proven head coach. I mean, look at what's going on right now at the Jags. Their head coach won a championship with the Eagles, and looks like they're riding the ship correctly moving forward. So we'll see what happens with the Jags long term. It's a long season, but that turnaround can happen. So, look, my prediction would be this, guys. If we end up 500, miss the playoffs, then yeah, I do think the Sean Payton conversation becomes extremely relevant. But again, there's a lot of football left to be played. I know a lot of people keep making comments on our pages. I keep getting messages left and right. You guys going to go after Sean Payton? Sean Payton. I asked myself this question: what would he do with a Justin Herbert? And guys, we run the Saints offense, right? So it would be the 3rd year for the same offense under Sean Payton. He might change a few things around, but that conversation could be big. It could be big. Oh, here's the meme right here too. Look, I think there's a lot to be said about that, right? But I think this has to really get ugly and get bad, and there'll be some real discussions around him losing the locker room. And where it's at. This right here was pretty hilarious right now. I thought this was probably one of the funniest tweets I think I can see in a long time. Sean Payton watched the Brady stealing charge lose to the Jaguars. I love that one. It's pretty good. So, I actually hit the wrong button there. Well, we'll stop sharing and wrap up. Guys, look, at the end of the day, football's a tough sport, right? We can sit back all day and start talking about how, Brandon Staley's horrible, Joe Lombardi's this, that. Look, it takes time for teams to come together and gel, okay? Unfortunately, we've had so many discussions around this team winning a Super Bowl that you lose 2 games and then your hair starts to catch on fire and you start sharpening your knives. And unfortunately, that's where we stand right now. So, guys, I'm just going to ask you guys all to have a little patience, have a little, focus. The sky is not completely falling yet. I mean, I'll say this: if we lose to the Texans this week, yeah, we're getting closer, right? We're definitely getting closer, and I think some rash decisions can be made. So I'm going to wrap up there, guys. What do you guys think? What do you think about these offensive line changes, defensive line changes? And again, this is a big conversation around coaching, right? These are the coaches making decisions. This is why you pay a coach. It's one thing to have a coach go through the season with hardly any injuries. It's another thing to have a coach go out to get players, plug and play them into them. Have they been coached up well enough to do their job? That's what we're going to see, right? This is really a test of the coaching staff against the Texans, right? How many pressures is Jamari going to give to Herbert, right? And make no mistake about it, guys, they have a decent pass rush, right? So it's going to be a test. So, guys, what do you think? Put your thoughts down below. Am I off? Am I way off? What do you think about Sean Payton? Want to hear your thoughts, right? As always, guys, bolt up. We're here for you. And we are going to be doing a pregame and a postgame of the Texans game. So look out for that. As always, guys, see you guys in the next one.